Now on the CTV News at 5, the province has agreed to pay out more than $140 million to settle a coal lawsuit. Plus, a sentencing hearing is underway for 2 Freedom Convoy organizers. And preparing for ballet in the Badlands.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Alberta taxpayers are on the hook for more than $140 million and potentially much more as the province settles one of 5 lawsuits launched against it over coal mining practices. Carson Marsouk reports.
In a company update posted to its website, Atrum Coal Limited says it has agreed to discontinue its claim, alleging the de facto expropriation of its coal leases, and will surrender the land back to the Alberta government for $142 million. The company has received $137 million and will get the rest once reclamation work is complete. The province says it has no intention to further lease these rights, once owned by Atrum, and is making changes to avoid further lawsuits.
The work being done on the coal modernization initiative is really to make sure that we do have policy certainty moving forward when it comes to that industry and strong environmental regulations and standards to make sure that we can continue to develop what the world needs, but also protect our precious resources, including water.
Atrum was one of 2 companies suing the province that announced last month settlements were reached. Evolve Power has not yet shared its settlement details. The companies were among 5 suing the province for a collective $16 billion over its coal policy flip-flop. In 2020, the Alberta government reopened coal development in the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, but reversed course 2 years later because of public pushback and legal challenges. During that time, the companies began work, built roads, and established hundreds of drill sites. The companies then sued the provincial government to recoup their losses.
It's actually concerning that we're paying out these companies these settlements when they haven't actually fulfilled their legal reclamation requirements and may not have the incentive to do so for what's being held back.
The NDP calls the payout incompetence of the UCP.
When you have a government that makes decisions, like significant decisions, without any public consultation, and then the public loses their mind, like they did with coal policy, the government is playing this weird game of kind of going back and forth. And the very first thing that does is completely eliminate consistency and predictability in the regulatory framework. And industry hates that. And so now we as Alberta taxpayers are having to pay for the consequence of that.
It's unclear if the other 2 companies in the joint lawsuit, Valerie Resources and Cabin Ridge, have settled. A 5th company, Northback, is also suing the province. Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
We reached out to Valerie Resources and Cabin Ridge for comment, but haven't heard back. The province says it's working to conclude these matters fairly. The outcome of these settlements will be consistent with Albertans' desires and best interests. A Calgary couple gave tearful apologies before being sentenced to 6 years in prison in the death of their 20-month-old son. The toddler spent much of his young life in Tabor being cared for by family before being returned to his biological parents. We want to warn you, this story contains disturbing details of child abuse. Sonia Pasqua and Michael Sinclair pleaded guilty to manslaughter in December. Their son, Gabriel Sinclair Pasqua, died in 2021 from blunt force head trauma with a resulting brain injury and untreated burns to a third of his body, leading to sepsis. He was also dehydrated and emaciated with a severe infection. An agreed statement of facts said his parents didn't seek medical attention and tried to treat the burns with honey before the child died. For most of his life, Gabriel was cared for by his great aunt and uncle in Tabor before going back to live with his parents. An update from Lethbridge Police: the female suspect connected with a theft investigation at London Drugs has been identified. Police are thanking the public for their help. And a sentencing hearing began this morning for 2 key organizers of the Freedom Convoy protests. Tamara Leach from Medicine Hat and Chris Barber from Swift Current were both convicted of mischief in April for their roles. The large protest blocked streets in downtown Ottawa for more than 3 weeks in the winter of 2022. They were fighting COVID-19 public health measures. The sentencing hearing is expected to take 2 days. The Crown is looking for a prison term of 7 years for Leach and 8 years for Barber, who also was convicted of counseling others to disobey a court order. It's time for our first weather with Danielle Savoni. And Danielle, the Medicine Hat exhibition and stampede kicked off today.
Right.
Fortunately, some much better weather is on the way.
Yeah, we are looking at hot weather, sunny weather, and better air quality as well, as we're down to low on that air quality health index. So pretty good weather to be enjoying that. Okay, what's happening is we have some instability that's tracking towards the QE2 here, but all of this activity should stay mainly north of the Trans-Canada. So we are looking at stable weather for the next few days, really, for the far south. 27 degrees right now in Lethbridge. At this time yesterday, we were at 11. So huge change and huge boost in the temperature, especially for Lethbridge. Right now, Brooks and Medicine Hat sitting at 19, Pincher Creek sitting at 21. More details coming up, Jackie.
Thanks, Danielle. Now, because of all that rain, the fire ban for Lethbridge's River Valley has been lifted. Lethbridge Fire and Emergency Services says the recent weather conditions, including higher humidity, have reduced the fire risk in the area. The city says precautions still should be taken when having outdoor fires and to always use clean, dry wood and extinguish a fire completely before leaving. The city of Lethbridge says water usage continues to be down throughout the city from January to June of this year. The city says residents used nearly 8% less water than during the same time in 2023. The city says compared to last year, usage ticked up by 1%. That's because in 2024, the city saw a 9% reduction in water use. Well, good news, the city is asking residents to continue to voluntarily reduce water usage throughout the summer and into the fall. Well, tourists have been flocking to destinations in and around Lethbridge. Many Canadians who decided to travel closer to home this summer are the reason. Quinn Keenan tells us more.
Summer is always a busy time for Tourism Lethbridge. Plenty of people have been coming into their office asking about things to do in the city. A large portion of those people are from Alberta.
For Lethbridge, things are looking really good. We've been seeing a lot of visitors. Again, our community always steps up and puts on amazing events, which brings in a lot of those visitors.
Waterton Lakes National Park is also feeling a surge of domestic tourists. While more locals are visiting, American and international tourists are still arriving in large numbers. The Canada Strong Pass, which allows free entry to national parks this summer, is also a big draw.
You know, it's been a great season so far. A lot of Canadians, a lot of locals that are staying at home, visiting all of our beautiful parks. So we really are seeing an uptick in day traffic.
There's also new attractions for tourists to take in this summer. Saddle Hill Ranch Cabins in Pincher Creek opened a few weeks ago. The cabins are made out of converted grain silos and gives guests a first-hand look at ranching.
People have really loved it, actually. We've gotten some really good feedback from the guests that we've had so far. Really unique experience, like they kind of get a feel of the culture that is the ranching world down here.
Expectations are high for the rest of the summer tourism season as well. With big marquee events like Whoop Up Days on the horizon, plenty of visitors will be headed to southern Alberta.
Whoop Up Days, we've got the Niitsitapi Rodeo happening this weekend, Open Farm Days coming up. There's, some really exciting things happening here in Lethbridge.
Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
A heads up if you take Whoop Up Drive on your daily commute, as a major construction project is set to get underway tomorrow. Crews will be completing the final phase of the bridge rehabilitation project, which includes replacing the expansion joints. The city says 2 lanes of traffic will be shut down at a time, with 2 lanes of westbound and eastbound being maintained. The city will also use its median diverters to allow one traffic of the traffic to flow. There will be several lane closures, including off and on ramps, along with reduced speed limits. The city is asking drivers to plan ahead and take Highway 3 if possible. The project is expected to be complete by the end of September. It's a one-of-a-kind performance, not just for the audience members, but also for the members of the Alberta Ballet. Ballet in the Badlands is a one-night-only event this Friday, hosted at the Badlands Amphitheatre in Drumheller. Tuesday, the dancers were in session practicing in the ballet's adaptation of Don Quixote's Act 3. Dancers say they are thrilled to be performing outdoors at the 2,500-seat natural amphitheater, adding it will be a new challenge. They also hope Mother Nature doesn't play spoiler.
Especially those of us in point shoes. Like our shoes do not hold up in wet conditions, and it can make the floor really slippery with the type of marley that we use. So its safety is definitely a concern should there be any rain, but we're just really excited to perform.
Tickets for Ballet in the Badlands are available online or day of at the amphitheater's gate. Still ahead, Danielle is back with the 5-day forecast. And the Alberta Medical Association is again urging Albertans to protect themselves from measles. More when we come back.
All right, your Skycam facing northwest, and things have improved in many communities for today. One, temperatures have warmed and we have brighter weather. Now, of course, we need rainfall, and we did get some of that in many areas in the south. But we're looking at dry weather, sunny weather, outdoor weather, and definitely needing some sunscreen type of weather as we head through the rest of this week. All right, Calgary got to 22 today, Edmonton 19, certainly an improvement from the colder weather we had yesterday. Calgary's daytime high of 10 yesterday was the same as Iqaluit. They were at 10 as well. The coldest places in the country. So yes, we're well below normal. Lethbridge 11 at this time yesterday, and now we're in the 20s. So certainly temperatures have improved and gotten closer to normal. We're a little bit all over the place as the clouds start to roll in. Temperatures are cooling a little bit in the Lethbridge area right now, but they've increased in Medicine Hat up to 20 at this point. Okay, looking at radar and satellite. We have a bit of a ridge of high pressure that's building in. It will build in to the far south, and the jet stream will be north, far enough north that the activity should be tracking up and around. We may see some of it track in on Friday, but most of this, for the rest of today anyway, will be well north of the Trans-Canada. All right, so here's a look at that somewhat ridge of high pressure that will build into the south. The jet stream will be way off to the north. The jet stream is the storm track. So when that's farther up to the north, that means we're not looking at it dragging in any sort of cloud cover or precipitation, at least for the rest of this week. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to advance this actually right till Friday because there's really nothing to talk about as we head through the next couple of days. But late Friday is when we have this next chance of seeing any sort of shower, thunderstorm activity, that late day activity that pops up. This is Friday, 6:30 p.m. You can see we have that chance of it moving into the Brooks area. Potentially, if I advance this, you can see closer to the Medicine Hat area as well. Likely not to the far, far south. But that's the potential, really, as we head through the rest of this week. Other than that, it does look pretty stable. Pincher Creek, Lethbridge, over to Medicine Hat and areas to the south of that. Okay, East Kootenay area for tonight, we're looking at fog patches, 12 overnight. Small chance of some evening isolated showers. Pretty dry for tomorrow, mainly sunny, but it will be windy. In fact, it will be windy overall for all communities tomorrow. Gusts out of the south for the East Kootenay area, 50 kilometers per hour, especially closer to the noon hour, and a high of 27 degrees. Okay, Crozes Pass, 12 overnight. It will be gusty up to 40 kilometers per hour for this evening, dying down overnight, and then back to 50 for tomorrow. Mainly sunny tomorrow, and a hot day of 27 degrees. Medicine Hat. We're looking at that air quality health index. Key thing here, we're about moderate for the on and off. We're low to moderate as we head through the evening and overnight hours. And then as we get into tomorrow, we'll be low. So much better air quality tomorrow, a high of 30. So we'll get the heat and lots of sunshine as well. Okay, looking at Lethbridge, 30 degrees for tomorrow. Winds gusting up to 50 kilometers per hour, especially starting around that noon hour. Mainly sunny skies. You can see lots of stability. The key things, again, late Friday, closer to the supper hours, we have the chance of showers. We're looking at a high of 26 and holding on to those mid-20s as we head into the weekend as well. Saturday in the afternoon, we'll see some clouds increase.
As Alberta approaches 1,500 total measles cases, the Alberta Medical Association is urging Albertans to protect themselves. They're also calling on the provincial government to do more. CTV's Merrick DeCatch has details.
In some zones right now, basically existing in the zone is considered essentially an exposure.
A group of doctors coming together to express frustration. The provincial government will not declare measles an epidemic in Alberta.
When Alberta's 1,400 cases are larger than the number for the entire United States, and we have 12 times the number of active cases as Texas does per capita. There's no doubt that this is an epidemic.
There's this misconception that measles is a routine illness, a routine childhood illness, and it's not. Its high contagiousness and relatively high rate of complications and hospitalizations make it unique.
This panel, put together by the Alberta Medical Association, is urging Albertans at risk to get immunized.
Getting the vaccine is the best way to protect against getting measles. The measles vaccine is safe and it's effective.
Dr. Lenora Saxinger says kids and pregnant women are most at risk.
Anyone who's at risk should make sure that their inner circle is up to date on their vaccines and have had 2 doses, because that can actually provide protection as well if the people that you most commonly associated with are protected.
The province says suggestions to declare a province-wide outbreak or epidemic do not reflect the current data, as the vast majority of cases remain concentrated outside of Edmonton and Calgary. Merrick Takash, CTV News, Edmonton.
Now today, 24 new measles cases were confirmed, 17 in the South Health Zone. Provincially, we are just under 1,500 measles cases since the outbreak began in March. The South Zone continues to have the most number of cases, and children are by far the largest age group impacted. Measles is highly contagious and easily preventable with 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we introduce you to the Canadian race car driver who is making race car history. Rain postponed most of the games across the WCBL last night, but with drier weather today, it's set to be another full night of baseball. Lethbridge Bulls continue their homestand as they host the Regina Red Sox. Lethbridge currently sits 3.5 games back of first in the West Division. Medicine Hat Mavericks, meanwhile, they're on the road taking on the Moose Jaw Miller Express. And the Brooks Bombers host the Fort McMurray Giants in a game with huge playoff implications. All games start at 7:05. As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end.
High in the air, deep right field. And it is gone.
That was the New York Yankees' go-ahead run in the 9th inning, leading them to a 5-4 win, ultimately ending the Toronto Blue Jays' home game winning streak at 11 last night. The Jays were also looking for a 5th straight win and 6th straight against the Yanks. The teams will wrap up their series tonight in Toronto. Ontario's Erica Hoffman has driven some of the best racetracks in the world. Now, as one of Canada's fastest racing on a prestigious women's team, she has her foot firmly planted on the floor, hoping to go even further. Here's CTV's Dylan Dyson.
Main thing in a race car is you want to look as far ahead as you can.
Growing up in Barrhaven, life just didn't move fast enough for Erica Hoffman.
As I got older, I got my driver's license and I was driving down the road and I was like, well, this isn't cutting it. I want to actually drive.
That's when she took her white Subaru in search of open asphalt.
I started racing in 2019 here at Calabogie Motorsports Park. So I started by taking my own car, which is the street version of this car that I'm sitting on.
After hours of doing laps at Canada's longest racetrack, Hoffman saw her biggest checkered flag to date.
In 2022, I kind of got my big break, so I entered this international driver search competition, and there was 1,000 drivers from 35 countries, and then I got to the top 10 and I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually do this thing. And I placed first overall, won a seat racing a McLaren GT4 car in Europe, immediately moved to England within 2 weeks and was on grid for my first official race, racing in the UK's GT Cup.
Now at 28 years old, Hoffman has become the only Canadian driver on the Porsche Mobil 1 female race team, and is also the co-founder of Slate Racing, an all-female Canadian racing team.
Whenever I'm in the paddock and I'm like looking at my Porsche and I'm like, that's my car, and being on the podium, just everything has been so surreal to actually get to experience it.
Getting behind the wheel, Hoffman proves your brain needs to be just as fast as your car.
Get this gas on through the corner and now let it track to the right side so you're not getting pinched. Over more to the right, touch the brakes, look up your corner, good.
Hoffman currently sits third in her division's championship standings with 4 races left on the calendar.
My goal for next season will be to race the GT3 Cup car, just keep moving up within the ranks, and then eventually do Carrera Cup, and then IMSA is the long-term goal.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News, Calabogie.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we introduce you to a real-life superhero to animals. Not all superheroes wear capes. Some wear a paraglider or fly planes to save the day. Adam Sawatsky explains.
Trio. This is Luna.
Although his dogs are all different.
And this is Kilo. And then Nani.
Jason Biggins says they all have one thing in common.
All rescues. Yeah. As a kid, so I always had a connection with an animal.
As a kid, Jason also always dreamed of flying like a superhero.
And I can picture Superman saying that up and away and then just free, gone.
But it wasn't until he was in university and tried paragliding for the first time.
You feel like a superhero. It feels magical.
That Jason thought he'd found a way to realize that dream.
That just captivated me, and I was hooked for years.
For decades, Jason taught paragliding around the world. And during one of those trips, he and his wife rescued their first animal.
A starving pup came up out of the bush, and we scooped that pup up and brought her back to health.
Jason and his wife ended up living with 9 rescue dogs before someone suggested he combine his passion for animals with his passion for flying.
An idea of service, I think. It just seemed to fit.
So, when Jason retired, he earned his pilot's license, bought a family member's 7-year-old plane.
Wow, this thing climbs.
And volunteered to pick up wildlife in far-flung places before transporting them to animal rescue centers.
So I've got the seal pup on board, and we are looking good.
Because airplanes can fly in a straight line fast, a rescue that might take a day by land and sea can be accomplished in less than an hour by air.
That can be the game changer for an animal that's injured or, orphaned.
When Jason started getting so many calls to help, he launched a charity called Big to the Rescue and began sharing visuals of his passengers on social media, which have earned millions of views.
Nothing really cuter, I would have to say.
And nothing really better than this.
I'm present and I feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do, and it feels great.
Because even better than learning to fly like a superhero is wielding that power to help like one.
Pretty special that I can help little critters.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, North Saanich.
Albertans traveling through Vancouver's airport may notice some pint-sized ponies. They're part of YVR's animal therapy team. The airport is the first in Canada to introduce ponies as part of its Less Airport Stress initiative. The dynamic duo will join ambassador dogs from St. John's Ambulance on a trial basis. Well, thank you for sharing this time with us tonight. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.